Good morning and welcome to Mentoring Today. Following on from the last video, Dave Verma spoke about interview nerves. Good morning.
Hi.
So, following on from that, could you tell us about how an interview panel would want to get to know a person? What kind of questions would be asked, please?
Well, I think the interesting thing, and for the guys at home as well, is just to understand in an interview, it's just like any other relationship. They just want to get to know you. So when you meet someone new in life, you very quickly make up your mind about them, probably in the first 30 seconds to a minute. What are their expressions? What do they look like? How do they compose and hold themselves? Is it someone you want to get to know?
Yeah.
Now, we make these decisions very quick, don't we?
We do.
So the first thing they're going to inevitably suffer from this immediate impression of you. So first of all, they're going to get an immediate impression of how you've walked from that door to sit down in front of them to be interviewed, or how you've greeted them outside the room. What was your handshake like? What was your eye contact like? What was your demeanour like?
Were you smiling?
Yeah,
Friendly?
I mean, did you come across as wooden, or someone who's quietly confident, there to get a job? Quietly confident, there to get a job. Now, how are they going to want to get to know you? Well, there'll be all the technical questions, clearly, but then they're going to want to know what kind of person you are. So can you fit in their organisation? They're definitely going to want to know, what have you been doing? Can you tell us something about your career history?
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about your educational background? Can you tell us something about you? And they're going to want to know, have you been working hard? Have you had a career path? Have you been able to get some references? Have you had some success? So what have you been doing? It's a good opener that we always ask as interviewers. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing for the last couple of years?
So here you can talk about the projects you've worked on, if you've been studying, what kind of things you've been involved in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing to do is to talk to them as if they're someone who you've been introduced to by a friend, and you didn't know you were going to meet them, and they've come along to the restaurant and they've been introduced and they've said to you, "Hi Dave, I was just wondering, what have you been up to for the last few years? You sound like a fascinating person." Now, they are fascinated by you because they've called you in for an interview.
Absolutely.
So there's nothing wrong in saying to them, "Well, I've been studying for the last 3 years doing my MBA. During that time, I've had 2 internships, one with the NHS and one with a private company. During that time, I was very lucky in that I learned to apply a lot of the skills that I learnt on my course. So, for example, I got to learn how the management module actually works because I was a member of a team. So I got to feel what that dynamic was like. So I was managed, and I also had to manage some specific tasks to deadlines. So I actually put into process, put into function some stuff that I was learning.
That's really useful.
Also, with regards
really
to the management, the management accountancy module, I'm just making things up now, I actually got to see how the management accountancy theory came into play, and it's very different in real life than it was on my course. It was different because I got to see how things are actually streamlined in the workplace, and how much things are automated, and how risk-based processes come into play. So I think it's very important to tell people what you've been doing, how it links to your education, if you're a first-time jobber, let's say, and what you've learnt. I think that will in turn tell them the kind of person you are, hopefully enthusiastic, keen to learn, excited to apply what they've learnt, very knowledgeable about the things they know about.
So there are certain characteristics in a person that they're looking for.
I think universally they're looking for someone that's positive, regardless of the grade you're going in at, managerial, first time or supervisory. They're looking for someone who's positive.
Someone who's keen to learn, someone who's enthusiastic, someone who wants to apply themselves in a role. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly those things are important and they're going to be looking for them. But I think universally they're looking for someone that's positive. They're looking for someone that's looking for the opportunities to exploit. It's very easy to sit back in life and say that it's very hard to get a job. It's very hard to get a good dissertation. It's very hard to... Yes, all these things are hard, but they're looking for people who are positive,
Yeah.
looking for the opportunities and looking for those openings and looking to see how their inherent skills, their learned skills, their education and their sheer enthusiasm can get them through.
Yes.
Sometimes I've given people jobs because I look at them and I know they've got enormous potential. I can see that they've gone the extra mile in preparing for the interview. They may not have all the requisite experiences and skills. However, I can see they've prepared, and if I've asked them difficult questions, they've been very open and said to me they don't know, but they know where to research, and they're happy they could learn that in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I don't know, becoming very stressed and not being able to continue with the interview. That shows me that in essence and in truth, they are a positive person. For example, in martial arts, I'm not skilled in every single aspect. In the Mara combat system, we have focused very much on preemptive striking, on unarmed combat, improvised weapons and certain things. I'm not highly skilled in everything. For example, I'm not highly skilled in grappling, but I know that I can apply what I know on the ground with improvised weapons, and I could adapt to that. Similarly, in the interview situation, I'm looking for people, they won't be able to answer every single question I've got for them. But I'm looking for people who recognise that and are happy to say to me, that is an area where I need to develop myself. That is an area which I know that I am working towards improving on.
Yes.
Instead of saying, I don't know, or becoming flustered. So I'd say the first universal thing that people are looking for in an interview success situation, as an interviewer, I'm looking for people to be positive and confident. So that's the second universal trait that I think I'm looking for as an interviewer, positive and confident. Now, not brimming with confidence in terms of arrogance and there to tell me how to run my company and there to tell me what the role should be, but confident in terms of plugging any gaps in competence, confident in being able to fit into my organisation, confident that they can work hard and do well, confident that this is the career line that they definitely want to be in. A level of self-assurance would be the third universal trait I'm looking for. Not bordering into arrogance, but self-assured. Someone who can stand up and speak for themselves. Someone who's not going to be a complete yes man or woman. I do want people who are going to an extent, question the status quo if they come in and they find some unnecessary bureaucracy or they find something that could genuinely be improved, then I'm interested to know.
Of course.
Otherwise, why am I paying them?
Yeah.
So, positivity, confidence, a level of self-assurance not bordering onto arrogance. Obviously, technical competence in whichever line you're going for is important.
Yes.
So we're always looking for people who have read around the subject, who are aware of the latest trends in whatever area they're entering into.
So for someone who is in a profession, they would need to subscribe to certain trade magazines to ensure that they're kept up to date with market trends and what's going on.
I mean, absolutely. There's no point entering into a line of work or into a particular industry if you genuinely are not interested in it and you don't know anything about it. Now, what I'm saying here is the obvious, but it's very important to know what the competition is, what the company you're applying to does, why are they successful, what are their latest innovations, what are their plans, what are their products, how do they gain new market share, what are their strategies and techniques which they've historically used, which are documented. So gaining that level of intelligence, market intelligence, is very important. Now, in my day job as an investigator, we use intelligence all the time to understand the mind of the suspect. What is their modus operandi? Now, that's very important in an interview situation to understand what is the mindset of the person interviewing you.
That's true.
At a corporate level, but also at a personal level. So there's nothing wrong with you making friends with that person on LinkedIn, or having a look at them on LinkedIn if it's an open profile, or doing an open source search to understand who is Dave Verma. What is his educational background? What papers has he written? What would float his boat essentially?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of things is he interested in? So know your organisation, know your interviewer, know the job. It's all about doing due diligence, really. You know, you've got to know these key things.
And I think one trait that's really important is being able to follow through something. So a lot of employers look to see how you deal with problems, whatever field you're in.
Yeah.
Have you completed things? Have you started something? Have you finished it? I think that's quite important. Or are you somebody who's going to, you know, panic and leave a project or a situation?
I think you're right. I think that is a universal trait that we do look for as interviewers, completer finishers.
Absolutely.
As part of a personal profile. We do want people who can complete. Even if you've got no work experience whatsoever, we're looking for people who can complete, who have completed in their academic life.
Yes.
Forget about academic life. Have you completed, finished in your hobbies? So if someone's got a black belt, or if they are a qualified scuba diver, or if they are a qualified pilot, or if they are qualified at parachuting, whatever it is, if someone's followed something through at a personal level, that also tells me the kind of person they are.
Yeah, that's very true. So do you think it's very important to be able to demonstrate what you do outside of work as well? Do you think a person should actually talk about that too?
I think the final universal trait that I will mention in this particular video is it is very, very interesting for us as interviewers when we find someone who has an ability outside of work, outside of academia, especially a sporting activity.
Absolutely.
Be it swimming, boxing, fishing, walking. Everyone puts travelling, but you know, there's travelling, isn't there? You know,
and languages as well. That's another thing. You may have a mother tongue, but it's not something that it's a hobby. So it's got to be something.
Yeah,
that it's kind of an extracurricular activity.
I mean, I do enjoy very much at interviews talking to people about their extracurricular activities. It's an icebreaker. It puts people at their ease. There's nothing to make us feel more not at ease than someone who's very nervous.
Absolutely.
So often if I see someone is nervous, fearful, then I often will break straight into the questions that, yes, on your CV I was very interested to see that you were an Olympic swimmer. Now, there's one chap I was helping, and he was an Olympic swimmer. He was from China. And it was fascinating to talk to him about that. And we used that analogy about talking about his swimming very much to prepare him for interviews.
Lovely.
Because I found that when I spoke to him on a career level, he would seize up.
Yes.
Interview questions, he'd seize up. If I spoke to him about his swimming, he was just a different person.
Yeah.
So I ran an interview for him just about his swimming. And we spoke about all the techniques he was using to mentor fellow teammates, the actual swimming methods and training methods. So it was fascinating to see him being able to morph into this more confident person,
Yes.
talking about something he was confident about. Now, similarly, in a real interview situation, if we see that kind of resume where someone has got a very interesting extracurricular activity, I definitely want to talk to them about that. Because if they're somewhat nervous about the professional questions, I can get a true insight into who that person is by talking to them about those hobbies and pastimes. I can actually understand who they actually are at that point.
So you're able to bring them out of their shell, and they're far more comfortable in talking about the interview questions afterwards.
Yes, exactly. But more so, I can understand what that person is actually all about if we talk about their extracurricular activities. So having a well-rounded person in front of me definitely is a universal trait which will help that person be successful.
Excellent. So can you just sum up your 3 points that you've mentioned for the audience?
Yes, of course. First of all, positivity is very important. We're looking for people who are genuinely positive, even if they don't know the answer. They're happy to know where to get the resource, and they're confident to learn whatever they need to learn, which is the second point. And thirdly, the universal traits of having an extracurricular activity and something you can bring to the table. But generally speaking, knowing the audience that you're going to be interviewed by. So knowing the company, the individual, the job, and then being able to talk about yourself.
It's very interesting. So we've run out of time, and we shall meet again, hopefully, and talk about the next area. Thank you, Dave, for attending today.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.